You're listening to the Kitchen Confession Podcast with Chef Mary Mammoliti.
It's amazing how just connected food is to emotion. If I taste something that reminds me of my dad, I break down, I start crying, and we have to stop shooting, and we're like, I need like 5 minutes. For me, it's a flavor thing. I know some people it's music, some people it's a sound, but my connection to my dad is always food, and it always will be. So all those little things that as a kid, I didn't know what it meant. You know, yes, he was sharing his love and he was giving me some love, but he was also passing down the rules of making a good sauce and making good pasta.
I'm Mary Mammoliti, and you're listening to the Kitchen Confession Podcast. Today I'm chatting with everyone's favorite foodie, comedian, and host of the Food Network's Big Food Bucket List, John Catucci. John, thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't tell you how excited I am to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here.
Where did your love of food come from?
I guess my family. Like I grew up in an Italian house, so food was a big thing. Sharing food was even bigger thing. You know, sometimes you have Italian parents that are overly loving, and then sometimes you have ones that are a little, standoffish, right? Like, It's a handshake, it's a good kiss. They're proud of you. They might not explain it, but love is always shared through food, right? So right. My dad was a lovely man, and he did, I'm going to say like 80% of the cooking in the house, especially the big feast meals. So any Easter meal or Christmas or, whatever, if somebody was coming over, it was a big deal. That was my dad. My dad would always Sundays was always my dad. He would make a ragu. We'd start early morning, and then by the afternoon it was done. And then I'd be watching TV in my room, and we'd eat early afternoon, but noon would come around and he would bring me a bowl of sugo and a panino, and he'd give me a wink and he'd like pretend like, shh, I'm not doing this for anybody else. And then, go his way. And he'd also, and I didn't know this until years later, he'd also bring me into the kitchen, my two sisters as well. And he would get a bowl and put some of the pasta in the bowl and put some of the sauce and toss it together and make us taste it before he plated it.
Oh, I love that.
It was his way of imparting that flavor into our subconscious, right? So we knew what a good sauce would taste like, and we knew what a good ragu would taste like, and we knew what a good pasta is supposed to be how it was supposed to be salted, and how it's supposed to be cooked. And so all those little things that as a kid I didn't know what it meant. Yes, he was sharing his love and he was giving me some love, but he was also in a deeper way kind of be like passing down the rules of making a good sauce and making good pasta. And still to this day, when we're shooting for the show, if I taste something that reminds me of my dad, I break down, I start crying, and we have to stop shooting, and we're like, I need like 5 minutes. And it's amazing how just connected food is to emotion. For me, it's a flavor thing. I know some people it's music, some people it's a sound, but my connection to my dad is always food, and it always will be.
So your dad did a lot of the cooking. Do you do any cooking at home?
I do. I mean, like, listen, I'm with the shoot schedule, I'm not home very often. So when I am home, I like to cook. I like to, there are certain things that my kids like and my wife likes and I like. And so we'll do that. Also, at the same time, I'm very lazy. And then when you also come from being on the road for 3 weeks, and you got to come home and you're like, somebody's not cooking for me at a restaurant. This is bullshit. You know what I mean? So it's I'm either cooking, or at least I'm the one who's going out to buy food, for ordering in or for going out.
So I've got a couple of games.
Okay.
Are you, I was going to say, are you game?
Please don't say that.
It came out. I can't take it back now. It's out.
Let's do it.
Okay. First one, this or that.
The choice is yours. You can get with this, or you can get with that.
Okay, while cooking, do you listen to music or you want silence?
Silence.
I would never have pegged you for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Morning person or night owl?
Oh, more of a night owl.
Dog or cat?
Oh, both.
Phone call or text?
Depends who the person is.
Oh, are you one of those people that takes off the notification on the text?
No,
that lets people know that you've read it?
There's certain people I love. Some people aren't very good at conversations, right?
TV or movies?
TV.
Pool or beach?
Shade, whatever their shade. More. Just give me like a chair, like a lounge chair in the shade near the water, near like a beach.
This one's a hard one. Pasta or pizza?
Oh, man. Pizza.
Toothpaste, do you squeeze it from the middle or the bottom?
I go middle until I can't, and then I go from the bottom.
Laundry or dishes? What's worse?
Oh, I hate doing dishes. I'll do laundry any day. I'll wash and fold, but don't ask me to put it away.
Oh no, I'm so the opposite. I'll do dishes any day.
I cannot put, like, I will have baskets of laundry. I will just live out of a basket because I hate putting it away. I wish there was Uber, but for putting my laundry away.
That's an idea.
Yeah.
And now on to
Yes.
Season 2.
Season 2 of Big Food Bucket List.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm very happy with it. It was a little nerve-wracking to shoot because, like, you're back on TV and people still gonna like you, and do they like the show, and I guess people like seeing me stuff my face. So you know what I mean? Like, it's okay. They like traveling with me. They like seeing what I'm eating. They like seeing me be a goof. And it's a great gig.
I've been curious about this.
Yeah.
The inspiration behind Big Food Bucket List. What was it like?
Chorus Food Network approached us with it. They were like, "Hey, we have this idea. It's another kind of like travel show. The restaurants are going to be a little different than before. We're not going to shy away from restaurants that might be a little more elevated or
right.
a little fancier.
You're just going wherever there's good food."
Yeah, that's all I really like. I mean, it's funny because you like the term foodie. I don't even think of myself as a foodie. I call myself an Edie. I'm an Edie and a drinky. I'm an Edie and a drinky is what I am. I just really like food. I'm a big fan of food. It sustains me, but it's nice to be places where you're like, oh, I haven't tried that before. Like on the last show we did on the last season of Big Food Bucket List, we went to a place in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia called Canteen, and they did this amazing scallop dish with peas in a risotto. It was like a pea risotto with scallops on it. Amazing. Mm-hmm. But they also did this creamed lobster on homemade sourdough bread that they grilled, and then they put this lobster and herbs and cream all over it, and it was like open faced, and it killed me. I don't know about you guys. We never did that cream sauces with fish growing up.
No.
It wasn't a thing. And then I remember working at an Italian restaurant when I was in high school, a place called Villa Borghese. My boss, he would get so angry if somebody had like a linguine di mare, like with seafood and linguine, and they wanted cheese on it.
Yeah.
He'd be like, don't go. Don't go. I'm like, they're asking, don't go. Yeah. I'm like, all right. So trying, like, learning that, other cultures, other families, other people put, seafood and cream together. I was like, oh, is that supposed to happen? Yes, it's supposed to happen. And it's very good.
So what are some of the places that you're planning to visit, or can you say, for season 2?
I don't think I can. I mean, I can tell you like where we're going kind of thing. But
whereabouts?
Yeah. We were just in the East Coast. We were just in Prince Edward Island and Charlottetown and in North Rustico. And then we went to Lunenburg, and then we were in Halifax. And the East Coast of Canada is just breathtaking. It is gorgeous. The scenery, the seafood, the people are amazing out there. They just want to take care of you. They love showing off their little part of the world. They do. They're just so proud of it. And they should be. There's something about when you're driving up to the sea and you catch that first whiff of salt air, and you're just like, oh my God. But you gotta love seafood. If you don't love seafood, you're mad. You're done. Like, I love seafood, and even 2 days in, I was like, give me a burger. Come on already. I get it. But having lobster that fresh, having scallops. You've never had scallops like you've had like when you on the East Coast, when it's just it's been, they've taken it out of the water hours before, and then they have those products, that fish, that seafood, in the hands of people who know how to properly do it. It's otherworldly. So we were just in the East Coast, like I said. We're doing North America again this season, which is really cool. Tomorrow I'm leaving for Manhattan. I'm leaving for New York City. And so we're going to be in New York City and Brooklyn and New Jersey.
Oh, that's cool.
And we come back. Yeah, and we come back and then chill at home. We do some stuff in town, in Toronto. And then we go out to like Philly and Cleveland and Detroit. And then we're going out to BC again, Ottawa at some point. So we're traveling quite a bit. There's a lot of travel on the show.
What do you want people to take away from the show?
That there's so many great places in every town that like don't necessarily have that advertising budget that big restaurant have, you know what I mean? Like that the conglomerates have, but that those little places are putting out such amazing food, and those little places have those connections with restaurants and with farmers and with producers. You can really feel the love in that food. I'm just trying to find that connection. And when you have that perfect connection, you don't want to leave. You always want to go back. And I think we're trying to find those places, and I think we're finding them for people.
And it's reintroducing and showing people that there are connections to food. We all have connections to food. A lot of these places, there's always a story with a dish.
Yeah, there's always a story with the dish. There's always a story with, like, and that's what we're trying to find too, right? We're always trying to find that story and that interesting story beat. And so the researchers do a really good job talking to the chefs, talking to the owners, figuring out what that is, that one thing that makes this place, this one dish. Is it just a one ingredient? Is it like, is it the meat that's coming from an organic farm? Is it the produce? Is it the fact that they're pickling everything in house? Is it the fact that that the baker comes in the morning and all the bread that they use for all their sandwiches has been made fresh daily? I know back in the day, like even let's say 10 years ago, that whole idea of farm to table was really foreign to people, but it was mainly like higher end restaurants that had that stuff, or it was seen as shishi. I don't know, like people kind of put their nose up to it. And now everyone's realizing the importance of it. If the stuff that's being produced is being produced with love, and then it's being cooked with love, you can't help but feel it. And not only does it taste good, it feels good. And I think that's the thing that I really love about doing a show. I meet a ton of people on this show, from the owners to the customers that come in and stuff like that. And so when you make those connections with people that you realize, oh, wow, this is a pretty great gig.
I was going to ask you, can you watch yourself?
It's hard for me because I'm critical, and I'm like, oh, why did I say that? Or why did I do that? We shoot it, and then it's in the hands of editors, and then everybody's making notes on it. So you're kind of separated from that part of the world of what happens with the show after you're gone from it. So when I'll see it like 6 months later in a cut, and I'm like, I remember that dish. Oh, and I forgot about that. That's good. That's great. So it's exciting for me to watch too, as much as I hate watching myself on anything. I watch it because it's, part of the gig, and I like the show, and it makes me laugh. You know what I mean? There are times where I watch it and I'm like, oh, I forgot I said that. But my anxiety comes out when I watch myself, for sure.
Honestly, I'm not saying because you're here, I'm not blowing smoke. It really is a great show.
You can blow
it's a lot
smoke.
Of fun to
you
watch.
You can blow smoke all you want. But thank you very much.
I'm Mary Mamalidi, and you're listening to the Kitchen Confession Podcast. Today, I'm talking with John Catucci, comedian and host of Big Food Bucket List on the Food Network. So when you do cook or get a chance to cook, what's one of your favorite dishes to cook?
It's a pasta fagioli. It's so peasant food. It's so classic. It's so quick and easy. And we've kind of tweaked it here at my house because when I was a kid, my mom would just take a can of beans and put some water in it and some garlic and bay leaf, and that's it. And that would be it, right? And it was still always delicious. And no matter what, it's still one of my favorite meals that my mom used to make when I was a kid. And it's comforting. And it didn't matter how many times I would make the same recipe, it would never be the same because you impart something, your psyche, your emotion, whatever, your heart into every meal. There's a trick that I learned when I shot in Italy on for You Gotta Eat Here. The chef would put olive oil in a pan and then put a garlic clove in the oil and get the flavor from the garlic right in the oil, but wouldn't leave the garlic in there and would take the garlic out. And I love that trick. So I do that now. Sometimes I find garlic is a bit too strong for my palate.
I agree. Sometimes it overpowers.
Yeah. And so kind of get the flavor from the the garlic in the olive oil. Then you throw in some onion and you cook that down. You don't want to color it at all. You just want to give it, get it translucent. Then you get we use canned fagioli, canned navy beans, and we wash them out and stuff like that. Then put it into the pan and kind of like stir it into the onions and the olive oil and kind of get some color on the beans as well. And then instead of using water, we use like a chicken broth, and then slow cook that with a couple of bay leaves in there as well, until it gets, somewhat soft. I still like a little bit of texture with my fagioli. Yeah, me too. And then we make pasta. My girls like the pasta shells, the little shells. Mix that all together.
Smart girls.
Mix that all together. And then I kind of like, once it's all in the same pot, I turn up the heat a little bit and I still mix it so it kind of gets creamy, right? When you're cooking the pasta, I like adding a little bit of olive oil into the pasta. It's not going to help stick or whatever like that. It's just something about it. When you have the pasta and the fagioli back in the pot and you're heating it up and you're mixing it all together, there's some sort of chemical reaction that's happening that you get the creaminess from the beans, but also I think that olive oil also helps, makes it cremosa, makes it creamy.
It does. It
And
does.
you
Oh my God.
You add some cheese right in there at that moment, and the cheese kind of like melts into everything. And then when you put it in your pan, when you put it in your plate, it's more Parmigiano on top of that, and then olive oil on top of that, and you're set. You're good to go. Now I want pasta fagioli for breakfast.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't think you heard that, but I was wiping off the drool off the mic.
It's ruined the mic, Mary. It's ruined the mic.
Yeah, I can't. Now I want pasta fagioli.
I know, me too. Isn't it? It's just so good. And it's even more delicious the next day. And the talk about opening up a restaurant is always, in the air. And I was like, if I ever open up a restaurant, I'm going to have reheated pasta on the menu.
Isn't it the best?
It is the most delicious thing. The flavors mix in and they set, and then the next day, then you got to heat it up in a frying pan, right? You almost have to just on the edge of frying it. Because it gets crispy. It's like the pasta noodles kind of get crispy as well. And it's I love reheated pasta, and pasta fagioli when you reheat it up the next day, it's just gorgeous.
Speaking of a restaurant, if you did open one up, what's your favorite ingredient to cook with that you would bring into this restaurant?
That's a good question. I think one of the main things would be I love pasta. It would have to be pasta. My dad used to make an eggplant parmigiana that was just spectacular. So it would be, I think that, or we also, one of the big dishes that we always had at every family occasion was a pasta al forno. So a baked pasta dish, rigatoni and a tomato sauce, and then you mix it with, you bake it in a padella, a pan, and mix it with cheese, and you put it in the oven, and then it gets bubbly and crispy on top, and it's delicious. On the special things, my dad would make little meatballs, little polpetti, and put them all through. So, if you were lucky, you got a piece with a couple of meatballs in there too. So I think a pasta forno would be there. Like just some classic-y stuff.
Do you portion out your meatball to eat with, like when I eat pasta, and I've done this since I was a kid, I portion out my meatball. So I make sure that I have a little bit of meatball with every single bite.
So depending on the size of the meatball, you kind of cut it in quarters.
Oh, if it's my sister, she makes boulders.
Oh, but, okay. So you kind of
if it's me, I'm smaller. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Like if I have meatballs on my plate, I'll cut it up and make sure that, I've got a fork full of pasta with a piece of meatball and it's in my mouth. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's a little OCD-ish of me, but I love it.
I think so. I am also OCD-ish. If you get a carton of eggs, you either randomly take them out, and if you do that, you're an animal, or you take evenly from one corner and then the opposite corner, and then you work your way into the center. That's the way I like it. Judge all you want, but I don't care.
I can't. Look, I'm crying because honestly, my husband's looking at me. I'm like, damn, John Catucci.
Hey.
Okay, rapid fire.
Go.
Favorite meal?
Pasta fagioli.
Weirdest dish you've made?
Oh, weirdest.
Or tried.
Weirdest dish I've ever tried, I think it would be the pancreas. It was like sweetbread tacos. So fried sweetbread in taco form. That was the weirdest, having that, yeah.
Favorite kitchen gadget?
I like my microplane.
You've got 5 minutes to move into a new kitchen, and you can only take one item with you. What would it be?
A nice non-stick frying pan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Curse words you use in the kitchen?
Like vaffanculo, cazzo. Like but yeah, for sakes, that's one of my, for sakes.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd be able to fly.
Fly?
Yeah.
So you can just overlook and watch everyone?
Just fly around. When traffic gets tough, you just go, you just fly around and get back home.
What's your junk food kryptonite?
Is Nutella junk food? Because that's my kryptonite.
Yes.
That's one of my, that's a kryptonite, Nutella.
Justin Timberlake brought sexy back. What would you bring back?
I would, like a little bit of a pot belly. How's that? Is that okay? Yeah. I'll bring that back. Make that sexy.
I'll take that.
I'll make that
I'll
sexy.
take that.
Yeah.
There was a recipe you posted of no-knead bread.
Oh yeah, that was. I just listen. I kind of got obsessed with bread there for a little bit, and it's kind of hard to be obsessed when you're on the road to make it. But it was like a great, simple recipe of like yeast and water and salt, and you let it hang out for like 12 hours and let it do its thing. You don't even need it. You don't have to mix it in a bowl with a spoon and then leave it. And then the next, however long you're letting it rise, you put it in like in a Dutch oven. I got a crusette pot that you kind of preheat it in the oven. Take it out. The dough you form it into like a loose ball. You pop it in the pot. It's so delicious because you have the pot, the lid on the pot. Some of the steam comes out when it comes out of the bread when it's baking. It kind of helps create a nice crust.
Yeah, it's phenomenal
on the top of the bread, and it's so simple. My kids like destroy it. There was one time when I made it. I know you're supposed to let it cool down before you cut into it, and I was like, nope. I'm gonna burn my fingerprints off, but it's gonna be worth it.
I do the same.
It's gonna be worth it.
Yeah, I can't sit there and watch it cool down.
No,
I can't.
who does that? Who has that patience? I remember when they were cooling down pasta for the kids, they would maybe they popped it in the freezer for 2 seconds. They'd stir it and pop it in the, or if it was if it was already October or November, they'd put it out onto the balcony for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh my God. Did you grow up on pastina as well?
We had a little bit of pastina. Yeah. I mean, I think every kid has. I don't think we grew up on it, but I'm sure we had it, right?
No, I had one aunt that you had to have pastina when you went.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you speak to any Italian kid, at some point they had pastina.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Because that was your first, wasn't that the first foray into solid foods as a child?
Yes. Yeah,
right?
That's why I don't understand these little pieces of pasta. That honestly could get lodged in a second.
I think if you cook it long enough, it becomes mushy. I think you don't have to worry. I think a toothless child can gum it. What was your breakfast? What did your breakfasts consist of growing up?
So we had a couple of things.
Yeah.
One was, and in my dialect, it's l'ovo sbattuto.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is zabaglione.
Yeah, so a scrambled egg with coffee in it, with espresso in it?
No, one of my aunts did the espresso, so they would just kind of beat sugar and raw egg.
Yeah.
Not just the yolk.
Yeah.
So you beat that up, get that into like a little fluffy consistency, and some would put espresso.
Yeah.
And some would put, what was it, marsala or something?
Yeah.
It was like, that's why we were all so happy.
Yeah, you gave your kids booze.
Yeah.
I remember just having cafe latte, like espresso and hot milk and cookies growing up.
Yes,
like that
Milano
was
cookies.
Biscotti Milano, tante dolce momenti. Yeah, that was like.
So I ask all my guests to share their kitchen confession. Do you have one that you can share with us?
Okay, so growing up, my dad, he worked in a factory. He was a tailor. So he worked with machines and sewing machines and busy factory work. Dinner was important to us, but my dad never wanted anybody talking at dinner. He liked quiet. And I used to think, that's such an asshole, this guy. We can't talk at dinner. But then growing up, I realized he worked in a factory. He was tired and worked all day, and he just wanted to eat in peace. And then when I was a kid, I'd be like, well, when I have kids, I'm going to let them talk to them. And then now I have kids, I'm like, just eat your dinner. Please. Why are you standing up? Where are you going? Just sit down and eat your pasta. Don't say you don't like it. I just made it. I spent an hour making stuff. Why are you just sit on your seat? Why are you standing beside me? Go sit. So I wish I had learned a little more from my dad in that moment. Now that it happens now, I'm like, oh man, my dad had it. He was right.
I get it.
Just 5 minutes. Everybody, just relax. Just relax.
Oh God, that's hilarious. If listeners want to reach out, follow you, watch Big Food Bucket List, where can they find all this? So
you can watch Big Food Bucket List Friday nights on Food Network Canada. They always air 2 episodes back to back. You Gotta Eat Here is still in reruns, so if you catch old episodes of You Gotta Eat Here, you can watch it on foodnetwork.ca if you don't have cable. And if you want to follow me on Instagram or on Twitter, it's just my name, John Catucci.
Yeah, and you'll want to do that.
Please do.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
For joining me today, chatting, taking time out of your day, because this has been a lot of fun for me.
It's been fun for me too.
Like my face hurts from laughing.
While we were doing this, my youngest daughter threw a note under the door saying, "Can I come in?"
I love it.
I'm going to say she can now.
It's that time. We've reached the end of another show. Be sure to visit kitchenconfession.com for more recipes and foodie finds. I'd like to thank producer and editor Matt Agnew, and I'm Mary Mamalidi. See you at the next episode.